My daughter's husband told her we're not running a nursing home when I asked to move closer to them. I was 71, alone, and could barely see to drive. My own kid didn't defend me. She just sighed and said, "We're too busy, Dad." That phone call broke me, but what I did next broke them. My name's Henry. I'm 74 now, tucked away in a quiet corner of Kansas, but this whole thing, this ache in my chest, that won't quit. It started 3 years ago in Topeka. I never thought I'd be one of those people sharing my story with strangers. But something about the way it all went down, it's been sitting heavy on my chest, like a weight I can't shake. Every night around 3 a.m. like clockwork, I wake up, hearing her voice, that call, those words, over and over. I lost my wife Susan back in 2018. Breast cancer came fast and cruel, and just like that, 44 years of love ended in our living room, with her hand resting in mine. I thought that would be the worst pain I'd ever feel, and for a while it was. After she passed, the world went still. Not peaceful still, empty still, like something important had been unplugged and nobody noticed. But I kept going. I paid the bills, kept the house neat, showed up at the VFW on Fridays, waved at the neighbors when I could. I tried to pretend like everything was fine. But then came the little signs. Signs I ignored because I didn't want to admit time was catching up with me. My hands started locking up with me, stiff in the mornings, dropping things I used to grip without thinking. My eyes, let's just say headlights became blinding and shadows turned dangerous. One morning, I tried backing out of the driveway and flattened the neighbor's mailbox. Didn't even see it. That was the moment. I knew I couldn't keep pretending. So, I parked the truck, put the keys away, and that's when it hit me. I was stuck. No car meant no grocery runs, no VFW, no surprise visits, no freedom. The house, once my little piece of safety, started to feel like a cage. That's when I picked up the phone and called my daughter. All I asked was to move closer, not in, not to be taken care of, just closer. Somewhere I could get help if I needed it, somewhere I could still feel human. What she said next? That's what this whole story is about. I live out in the middle of nowhere. It's the kind of place that looks peaceful in pictures. Green fields, long roads, silence so thick you can hear your own heartbeat. But when you're 74 and can't drive anymore, it turns into a prison. The nearest grocery store is 20 minutes away by car, and there's no bus stop, no Uber, not even a decent sidewalk. Taxis, good luck. You'll wait 3 hours just for someone to maybe show up, and when they do, you better be ready to fork over $50 for a 5-mile ride. I tried doing it all myself for a while, ordering what I could, leaning on neighbors when it got real bad, but that gets old fast. You start to feel like you're not living anymore, just managing, one frozen meal to the next, one quiet day to another. I knew I couldn't keep living like this. I wasn't even asking for much. I didn't want someone to wipe my mouth or feed me soup. I just wanted to be near people, near family. So if I fell or got sick, someone might know before the week was over. That's when the idea hit me. Maybe it was time to move. Not into their house, just closer. I figured I'd sell the house, too big for me now anyway, and find a small apartment near my daughter Emily. She's my only kid, lives in Overland Park, 3 hours east. She's married to this guy Michael, some finance hotshot who talks like he's always closing the next $1 million deal. I can't say I've ever connected with him. He's loud, talks with his hands, wears watches that cost more than my truck, and always brings up his latest vacation before you even ask. But Emily? She's different. Always has been. She works as a school counselor, which fits her. Soft-spoken, patient. We were never super close, not like the movies where daughters call every day and send handwritten cards, but we stayed in touch. Birthdays, holidays, the occasional check-in. And after Susan, my wife, passed, Emily came down 2 weekends in a row, helped me box up Susan's sweaters, went through her jewelry with shaking hands, even cried with me in the hallway. I remember hugging her and thinking, she's still my little girl. After that, life just kind of drifted back into its routine. But now, years later, I needed her again. Not to grieve, just to be there. Not even to live with, just near. So, one Sunday I waited. I knew Sundays were laundry days for her. She'd be home. I sat in my chair, phone in hand, and my heart pounding like I was a teenager asking someone to prom. When she picked up, she sounded a little winded. "Hey, Dad? You okay?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah." You just want to talk about something?" I told her the truth. I can't drive anymore. It's hard being out here alone. I'm thinking of selling the house and getting a place near her. I didn't even get halfway through the idea before I heard him, Michael, in the background, loud and sharp. "We're not running an elderly hostel, Emily. He can figure it out." Just like that, no hesitation, no shame. And the worst part? She didn't defend me. She didn't even flinch. I waited for her to push back, to stand up for me the way I'd always hoped she would. but all I got was a long, drawn-out sigh. Then her voice, soft and brittle, "We're really busy, Dad. The kids, Michael's work. I don't think we can deal with this." Deal with this? That's what I had become. A thing, a burden to manage, something she didn't sign up for. My chest got tight and I couldn't speak. I looked around the living room, at the couch Susan loved, the wall she painted seafoam green, the framed picture of the three of us from some long-forgotten Christmas, and I swallowed it down. I didn't beg. I didn't argue. I just said, "I understand. Thanks anyway." Then I hung up. And just like that, a part of me shut down. Not all at once. It was like someone dimmed a light that used to burn warm in my chest. I sat there for a long time, phone in hand, staring at nothing. The silence that followed wasn't like the quiet after Susan died. That was grief. This was something colder. This was rejection. From the one person I thought would never turn her back. From my daughter. My blood. And deep down, I knew something had changed. Something I couldn't take back. That call broke me in a way I didn't think was possible, but it also lit a fire I hadn't felt in years. The very next morning, I picked up the phone and called a realtor. "Hi, this is Henry. I'd like to sell my house." No second guessing, no hesitation. I was done waiting for people to care. Rachel, the realtor, showed up that Thursday. She was in her early 40s, sharp as a tack, all business. She walked the property with me, asked questions, gave a firm nod, and told me it would sell fast. And she was right. 4 weeks later, a retired couple from Texas made a cash offer. Said they wanted to be near their son and raise tomatoes in the backyard. I signed the papers and handed them the keys. I didn't tell Emily. What would have been the point? She had made it perfectly clear I wasn't someone she had space for in her world. I moved on quietly. Found a one-bedroom condo in Lawrence, a small, peaceful place near a clinic, and with a grocery store just a block away. I could walk there. I didn't need anyone's help. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I was building a life again, piece by piece, without the people who let me fall. Next up was my will. I'd had one sitting in a drawer for years. Basic stuff. Everything was supposed to go to Emily. The house, the savings, the truck, the life insurance. But after that call, after hearing her treat me like a task too inconvenient to bother with, that all changed. I called my lawyer and told him I wanted a rewrite. I split everything I had left down the middle. Half would go to a veterans group that builds homes for aging vets like me. The other half would go to a senior support program in Topeka, the kind that helps folks who don't have anyone to rely on. The truck? I figured I'd sort that out later. In the meantime, I settled into a new rhythm. My life wasn't what I imagined it would be at this age, but it wasn't bad. I started spending time at the local senior center. There I met Linda. She was a widow too, warm and kind, with a soft laugh and a love for card games. Her grandson Ethan would drop by sometimes, and when my kitchen sink backed up, he fixed it without being asked. After that, he started checking on me every few days. He was a good kid, more of a grandson than I ever expected to have. Then, about a year later, I had a stroke. It came out of nowhere. I woke up in a hospital bed with a nurse shining a flashlight in my eyes. They said it was mild, caught early, but it rattled me. I spent 2 weeks in rehab, relearning how to balance myself and trying not to be bitter about it. When I finally got out, I did something I hadn't done since that awful phone call. I picked up the phone and called Emily, told her what happened, that I was okay, that I just wanted her to know. She paused for a long time, then asked, "Why didn't you call sooner?" I swallowed hard. I wanted to yell, to tell her it was because she made me feel like I wasn't worth the effort. But I didn't. I just said, "You were busy." Then, calmly, I added, "I changed my will, Emily. You're not getting anything." Dead silence. "You what?" she whispered. I told her the truth. "I've got people here who don't treat me like a burden. They get what I have." She broke down crying, and you know what? I didn't feel good about it. But I didn't feel bad either, just tired. 2 weeks later, she showed up at my condo with a bouquet of flowers. No makeup, puffy eyes, shoulders hunched. She sat on the edge of my couch and apologized again and again. "Dad, I didn't know how to stand up to Michael," she said, voice shaking. I nodded, didn't say much. She stayed 20 minutes, then she left. That was the last time I saw her in person. She still calls sometimes, leaves voicemails I listen to but don't return. Because here's the truth. Her tears didn't fix what she broke, and I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. About 3 months later, I got a letter in the mail. From Michael. Typed out, like some cold business memo. "Henry, there's been a misunderstanding. Let's revisit the will. Emily was emotional last time, didn't express herself clearly. We care about you. Dinner soon? No apology, No shame, just sleazy charm and thinly veiled manipulation. I tossed it in the trash. 2 weeks later, Emily called. This time, I picked up. "Dad, please," she started. "Michael was wrong, but we're trying. The kids miss you." And that's when it hit me. The kids. I hadn't seen them in over 2 years. But I didn't bite. She kept going. "Maybe you could move to an assisted living place near us. We'd visit on weekends." I almost laughed. They didn't want me anywhere near them before. But now that money was on the line, they wanted me neatly packed into a facility? I said, "I'll think about it." But the only call I made after that was to my lawyer. "Make the will ironclad," I told him, and we did. Then I gave Ethan my truck, signed over the title that afternoon. His eyes got big. "You serious?" he asked. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "You've done more for me in 6 months than some people have done in a lifetime." Linda tried to thank me with a casserole. I told her to learn poker with me instead. And then things got strange. One day, the front desk rang my apartment and said there was a woman downstairs asking to come up. No name given. I said no. 2 hours later, Emily was at my door. No makeup, eyes red, hands trembling. "I'm sorry, Dad," she said. "I shouldn't have let Michael talk like that." Then came the truth. "We're in trouble. Michael lost a lot of money. We might lose the house. Gambling. Over 300 grand gone." I didn't hug her. Didn't invite her in. "You here for money?" I asked. "No," she said, staring at the floor. "Not exactly." I told her the truth, plain and simple. "I gave you everything my whole life. All I asked was to be near you, not even live with you, just not be so alone." She cried. I let her, and I looked her in the eye and said, "I might not forgive you. Not yet, maybe never." She nodded and left. The next day, Michael called. I didn't answer. But I found out later he tried contacting my lawyer directly, wanted to arrange a family meeting. My lawyer shut it down, called me right away. "Good thing you locked this up," he said. But they weren't done. A week later, Linda told me she saw Emily at my pharmacy, asking about my medications, saying she was checking for interactions. I hadn't seen her since that day at the condo. She didn't visit me when I had the stroke, but now she was suddenly concerned about my prescriptions? Please. I locked my pharmacy file and put both Emily and Michael on a no-info list. Then the building manager said someone had been snooping, asking about my visitors, emergency contacts, health status. They were circling, waiting, hoping I'd die and leave behind a pot of gold. What they didn't know was I was rigging the game, and I wasn't done playing. I sat in my lawyer's office with a cup of lukewarm coffee and a decision I knew I wouldn't undo. "Can we film something?" I asked him. "A video, for my will." He nodded without blinking. "Absolutely. Want it on file?" I said yes, and that same afternoon, we set up a little camera across from my chair. One take. No script, just me and the truth. I looked straight into the lens and didn't blink once. I told them everything. What happened the day I asked for help, how Michael called me a burden like I was a bag of garbage left on the porch, and how Emily just stood there, quiet, like I wasn't even her father anymore. I talked about the silence on the phone, the weak excuses, the sudden interest when the money became more real than my needs. "If you're watching this," I said, "it means I'm gone, and it's too late to pretend you cared. Emily, you let your husband treat me like I was disposable, and instead of standing up for me, you looked the other way. You get nothing, no money, no house, no second chances. What I built will go to the people who showed up for me when you didn't." I leaned in close. My voice dropped lower. "Next time someone you love asks for help, I hope you remember this moment. I hope it burns." About a month passed before I heard anything. Then it came in a neat little package with shiny gold writing on the front. Inside, a glossy flyer for some posh wellness center in Overland Park. Looked more like a country club than a care home. Monthly fees that would make a heart monitor flatline. Tucked inside was a short note in perfect penmanship. "Could be good for you. We'd help with the deposit. Michael and Emily." No love, no warmth. Just names and a pitch. I didn't bother replying. Instead, I picked up the phone and called a local columnist who writes stories on eldercare and family issues. I told him everything, left the names out, but gave him the bones, the truth, the ache. He turned it into a piece called "What My Daughter Taught Me About Dying Alone and Living My Way." It hit like a storm. Facebook shares blew up. People wrote comments, said it sounded like their dad, their uncle, themselves. The senior center printed it and pinned it up. The veterans group I supported handed it out at their events. Ethan read it and laughed. "Dude, you're viral." I gave him a little smile, but inside I felt something I hadn't felt in years. A week later, Emily left a voicemail. Her voice was tight, shaky. "Dad, I saw the article. Why'd you do that? Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry. Just upset that other people saw the truth." I didn't call back. I wasn't finished. Because behind the scenes, I'd been working on something bigger. With help from my lawyer and a friend at the senior center who used to do nonprofit accounting, we created something real, something lasting. We called it the Susan Home Fund, after my wife, the only person who never made me feel like I was too much to handle. The fund helps elderly folks who've been forgotten by their families. It helps them find housing, support, and dignity. We went public a few months later. The press ate it up. Local radio called. Word got around. We made the story real, and this time, we named names. Michael and Emily weren't mentioned for revenge. They were the reason this fund needed to exist. They were the warning, the example, the lesson. A week after that article ran, Emily showed up at my door again. This time she looked different. Smaller, drained. She was crying before I even opened the door fully. "Dad, please," she said, hands shaking. "Michael's job is gone. We're losing the house. The kids think you hate them." That part hit me, my grandkids. I hadn't seen them in years. But I didn't let that crack me. "Why now?" I asked. Her voice broke. "Because we've got nowhere else." I opened the door just wide enough for her to see me, not to come in, but to take in the man she had left behind. I stood tall, older, thinner, but stronger than I'd ever been. "You had me once," I said, voice steady. "I didn't ask for a mansion. I didn't ask for money. I just wanted to be near you. Not even in the same house. Just near." She sobbed harder. "I'm sorry," I nodded. "I believe you," I said, "but that doesn't fix this." Then I told her the part I'd saved just for her. I'm donating $200,000 to a program for single moms who care for their aging parents. She froze. Her tears stopped. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. "What?" she finally whispered. "Not for you," I said quietly. "For women who made room, who didn't look away." And then she collapsed on my steps, crying like a child. But I didn't comfort her. That wasn't my role anymore. My job wasn't to save her. My job was to save myself. And for the first time in a long, long time, I finally had. Emily and Michael? They lost my money, yes. But more than that, they lost my trust. My presence. And that costs more than anything in a bank. I don't think they fully understand what they had, but maybe that's not my lesson to teach anymore. That chapter's done. What I found instead was peace. Not the kind you sit on a porch and daydream about, but the kind you feel in your bones when you know you did right by yourself. And that, for me, is worth everything. If I could go back, I wouldn't change a thing. Except maybe I'd call that realtor the very second I hung up the phone on Emily. Would have saved me a few nights of heartache. But in the end, no regrets. Not anymore. I'm living life on my terms finally, and let me tell you, it feels damn good. Linda drops off soup when my knees flare up. The veterans group named a wing of their new housing after Susan and me. Emily and Michael lost my money. I found peace. That's the deal I made. If I could go back, I'd have called that realtor the second I hung up on Emily. No regrets now, though. I'm living my terms, and it feels damn good.